Not putting Caitlin Clark on the U.S. women's basketball team is one of the biggest failures of basic business that I can remember ever seeing in the modern world of sports. You can go back on my Twitter feed. Months ago, I said putting Caitlin Clark on the women's basketball team, sending her over to Paris, was a no-brainer, and there was no way U.S. women's basketball could screw this up. Guess what happened? They screwed it up. This is yet another example of the WNBA not being ready for prime time. They have begged for 3 decades for people to care about women's basketball. Over the weekend, Caitlin Clark sold out Washington, D.C.'s arena. Over 20,000 people showed up to watch her team, the Indiana Fever, who were like 2-9, play against a winless Washington WNBA franchise. Usually the Washington WNBA franchise plays in an arena with only 4,500 seats. Because Caitlin Clark was coming to D.C., they sold out what is usually, I believe, the Wizards Arena where the Washington Capitals play. I've been and watched games there. Over 20,000 seats. They're all showing up for Caitlin Clark. I shared you the data on WNBA viewership. It all is coming basically from Caitlin Clark. Given the incredible opportunity to put women's basketball on a huge stage, maybe make the women's basketball team even more interesting potentially than the men's basketball team this year in Paris, it was a no-brainer, basic business for Caitlin Clark to be on the team. Women's basketball dropped the ball and failed epically not putting her on this team. Now, let me go ahead and address a couple of comments I've seen. She's not one of the 12 best basketball players. So what? Tiger Woods isn't one of the 12 best golfers right now. If you had the opportunity to stage a golf tournament and you could draft 12 golfers to show up for that golf tournament, you would put Tiger Woods in it. Do you know why? Because he's a big draw. Do you know what LIV did? I'm playing in the LIV golf tournament here in a little bit. Do you know they tried to go get Tiger Woods? They couldn't. They paid Phil Mickelson a huge sum of money. Phil Mickelson, at that point in time, is not one of the 10 or 12 best golfers in terms of actual ability, but he is one of the biggest and best draws. Netflix is about to have Mike Tyson fight, theoretically, against Jake Paul. Neither one of those guys are the 2 best boxers in their respective weight classes. They're doing it because people care. Conor McGregor keeps fighting. People care about Conor McGregor. I'm telling you right now, as someone who has run a business, the failure to put Caitlin Clark here is just staggering to me. She is by far the most interesting person who is playing women's basketball. She would triple the overall ratings for these games by herself, and due to her popularity, she would make others popular who were playing alongside of her. This, again, with the WNBA and women's basketball begging for attention for decades, they have gotten an opportunity the likes of which we haven't seen. Caitlin Clark is a comet streaking across the night sky. She is an opportunity for everyone to look up and pay attention to what is going on. And instead of embracing her star power, you know what they've done? They have decided they would rather be a tiny league that is getting a fraction of the attention it otherwise should be. I've been on this for a long time. Caitlin Clark is a rising tide that lifts all boats. She's Tiger Woods. She is Ronda Rousey. She is the best thing that's ever happened to women's basketball. She makes people who otherwise wouldn't care, just like Tiger did, care. She makes people who otherwise wouldn't be watching UFC women's fighting, like Ronda Rousey did, care. And we don't know how long this star power is going to last. So when people say, oh, well, she can play in 2028, maybe she'll still be a big star then. Maybe she'll tear 2 ACLs and never be able to play at the level she does right now. I mean, I hope it's not going to happen, but would that stagger anyone? That happens all the time in athletics. People who show a great deal of early promise have issues and aren't able to ever live up to that promise. So when I see things like this, it makes me think so many of these sports leagues need a director of basic fan common sense. Because I've been going off on this a lot over streaming and how difficult it's getting to be able to watch the games that you want to see played. Their inability to handle basic business is frustrating. But frankly, I've never seen anything like this ever happen in sports, where you have the person who is going to bring everybody, the Taylor Swift, the Beyonce, right now the Morgan Wallen, the person who can sell out the stadium, and you don't allow them to perform at all as part of the ensemble cast of women's basketball. And in the process, you put, like, what is Diana Taurasi? Not trying to take a shot at her, but 42. She's had 20 years to make people really care about her and women's basketball, and it hasn't happened. And there are a lot of examples of this. Brittany Griner, who's primarily famous because she broke the law in Russia and we traded the merchant of death to get her back. All of this, to me, is an incredible failure. They need a director of common sense. Hell, I would do it. You've got a star who brings more eyeballs than anybody ever has before, and you are completely and totally screwing all of this up. Again, it is utterly indefensible. It is an easy decision to have been made. Caitlin Clark brings tens of millions probably of additional viewers over the course of the women's pursuit of a gold medal. She would make everybody else famous around her more than they ever would have been otherwise, just like Michael Jordan, if you want to make a basketball analogy, or LeBron James, have made a lot of smaller role players really famous. Remember Dellavedova, John Paxson? I mean, these are guys that otherwise would have absolutely no national cachet or recognition, but because of Michael Jordan's star power and LeBron James's star power, they were able to create an opportunity for far more people to care than would have cared before. It frustrates me. It fires me up. And I just don't get it. We've talked about the WNBA making disastrous decisions as it pertains to Caitlin Clark. Not putting her on the Olympics team is the most recent story from the Washington Post. The WNBA is going to lose $50 million this year, even with Caitlin Clark. This is a nearly 30-year-old league that has never managed to make a dollar in its entire history. For everyone out there that is complaining that WNBA players are not being paid enough, do you have season tickets? Are you giving substantial of your own dollars to the WNBA to allow these women to be paid? Based on pure economics, the WNBA players are actually overpaid because their league has never made a dollar and is being subsidized by NBA players. In reality, but for the woke universe, the WNBA wouldn't exist because it hasn't been proven to have an audience. Caitlin Clark shows up, actually tries to help with the audience, and they trip all over themselves. But even with her this year, the WNBA is on track to lose $50 million. So every time these women come out and complain because they have to fly commercial, I bet if you work at a company that's losing $50 million a year, you probably fly commercial. I doubt they're chartering jets for you. The company makes no money and never has. It's lost hundreds of millions of dollars. It might have lost $1 billion. These women are being paid despite the fact that the market so far has said there is no interest in the product that you're selling. This is not a business. This is a charity.